We start the day's headlines with growing unrest in Turkey. Police have detained more than 1,000 people, cracking down on protests and dissent that began after the arrest of one of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's main political rivals. Union representatives said today that journalists were seized in their homes. Some of the massive demonstrations, the largest in more than a decade, were met by riot police with water cannons, tear gas, and pepper spray. The protesters and opposition see the jailing of Istanbul's mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, as a political ploy to remove him from the next presidential race. Erdogan defended the arrest today, criticized his opponents, and called the protests a movement of violence.
Son 5 gündür tanık olduklarımız.
What we have witnessed in the last 5 days has shown us the truth again. A country like Turkey has a main opposition party that is too small, too primitive, and too weak in terms of foresight, vision, and quality. It has become apparent once again that they could not be trusted to run a country, let alone local governments, or even a buffet.
Mayor İmamoğlu faces corruption and terrorism charges, which he and the opposition have decried as false. More aid groups have come under fire in the escalating violence in the Gaza Strip. The International Committee of the Red Cross said one of its offices in southern Gaza was damaged by an explosive projectile the Israel Defense Forces later said was fired by mistake. That comes as the United Nations has decided to temporarily scale back about a third of its footprint in Gaza after a recent Israeli strike hit one of its compounds. Israel, meanwhile, has been bombarding Gaza in recent days. Gaza's health ministry said more than 65 people were killed in just the last 24 hours, including 2 Palestinian journalists. The Committee to Protect Journalists now says more than 170 journalists and media workers have been killed in the war, the vast majority Palestinian. Back here at home, Dr. Susan Menares has been nominated to head the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, making permanent the acting role she already holds. Her nomination comes after President Trump abruptly withdrew his first pick, former Florida Congressman David Weldon, earlier this month. Also today, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy is stepping down from his post effective immediately. DeJoy, who has served in the role since 2020, had already led dramatic efforts to restructure USPS, including shrinking its workforce and cutting its budget. He'd recently asked Elon Musk's Doge team for help cutting further costs. On Wall Street today, stocks soared from optimism after President Trump indicated he might soften his tariff stance. The Dow Jones climbed by almost 600 points, while the Nasdaq made its own 400-point gain. The S&P 500 finished up after 4 straight weeks of losses. And a passing of note. Former U.S. Representative Mia Love has died. The daughter of Haitian immigrants, Love was a pioneer, the first Black Republican woman elected to Congress, representing Utah, a state that's overwhelmingly white. She was seen as a rising star within the GOP, but she distanced herself from Donald Trump. She lost to a Democrat while seeking a third term in 2018. Love suffered from brain cancer, and her daughter posted earlier this month that she was no longer responding to treatment. Mia Love was just 49 years old. Still to come on the NewsHour, 2 former heads of the EPA discuss the impact of cuts to the agency. The Supreme Court hears a critical redistricting case about race in Louisiana. And Tamara Keith and Amy Walter break down the latest political headlines.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.